Hey now everybody, Jamie here, and I'm back in my hobby station because there's a new hobby obsession in my life that I'm in love with, and it is called Gaslands. Gaslands is a post-apocalyptic vehicular combat miniatures game. It was designed by Michael Hutchinson, and this book is published by Osprey Wargames, and I love it. I've been looking for a vehicular combat game for a long time that strikes my fancy. There's a bunch of them out there. I mean, think of this like Car Wars, or remember the old Twisted Metal video game from the 90s? It's like that. I've been looking for one that excited me, and this one's the one that captured my interest the most. And basically, this game is you take Hot Wheels cars or Matchbox cars, that scale of car, and you fight them, or you race them in like an arena or on a racetrack. And basically you have guns on them and you're shooting each other, trying to destroy each other's cars. And I love this. It's great. Now this book right here, this Osprey War Games book cost $13. $13. And Hot Wheels cars cost 99 cents a piece. And I'm sure most of you have a bunch of Hot Wheels cars lying in your basement from when you were a kid, or your kids have them now. This is the cheapest miniatures game you're ever going to get into, aside from Green Army Men and a free rule set online. This is awesome. I'm really digging this game. Now, the way this game kind of plays, think of it like X-Wing. There's templates for movement, like there's turn templates, swerve templates, straight on templates, stuff like that. And all of that stuff you can download for free from the Gaslands website. They also have custom dice for the game, but the rules show you how to use just regular old D6s. They give you a little chart that shows you what the numbers mean. Super, super simple to get into. Easy to play this game. I'm loving this thing. Now, I mentioned that this is a miniatures game. There's a hobby aspect to it. Well, what they sort of expect you to do is get these Hot Wheels and these Matchbox cars, and you put guns on them and you paint them up and you make them look like a Mad Max style car, which I have been doing. You don't even have to do that. You could just play with the Matchbox cars and everything would be fine. As a matter of fact, you could play with, the Batmobile and the Ecto-1 and the Doc Brown's DeLorean and the General Lee, and you can have them all fighting if you want to. It doesn't really matter. But I've been working on this from a hobby aspect. Now, I've been a 40K player for years, and 40K models all come with all different parts and things that you could build different styles of the model with, different guns and different helmets and all kinds of things. So when you put together the model, you have a whole bunch of leftover stuff that you don't use, like different kinds of guns and things. And us being junkies and hoarders, we throw all of those extra bits into a bin somewhere in our basement, waiting for the moment when we're going to be able to use it. And most of us never use it. But this game has given me the opportunity to use these things. And man, I've been doing some really fun stuff. So let me show you some of the cars I've been making. All right, so this one right here, this one was my first car. And what I did was I took some Necromunda parts. These are all Necromunda guns. A flamethrower, a small machine gun. I put like a sort of an afterburner engine type thing on the back. And this ram, I modeled out of polystyrene. I just cut it out that way, glued it together, glued it to the front of the car, primed the car, and painted the car, and put some 40K decals on it. Looks like an old piece of junk from Mad Max. I even painted some bullet holes across the side. And that one I'm really proud of. Then this one, I decided to go in a different way. I decided that I wanted this one to be, the driver really loves his car, and he keeps it in pristine condition. Every time he goes into one of these fights, it gets banged up, dinged up, bullet holes in it. He goes back and he fixes it and repaints it for every race. So I have like a story behind this driver. And I just love that car. That's my favorite one so far. Then I made this one right here. It was out of an old panel truck. And what I did with this one is I was a little inspired by the orcs from 40K with these gigantic guns on the side. I put a ram on the front out of some spikes from an old building model from Warhammer 40,000. And then with polystyrene sheets, I cut out sort of haphazard armor panels and glued them to the side of the thing and on the back there and on the front. And I just was inspired by the orcs with this one to make it look like a big piece of hulking junk going across the battlefield. Slow, but it's powerful. And then this last one is just the most recent one I did, and I sort of have in my mind that this driver is kind of a psychopath, and he's all about death, and he just affixed a bunch of skulls to the front of his car, and a laughing skull on the back as they're eating his dust, and the skull's laughing at them with a gigantic gun on the side. The physics of these cars makes absolutely no sense, but who cares? This is fantasy, and I'm really proud of that one too. I'm just loving doing this. And I'll tell you why I love doing this. And the example of the black car, the black car with the red stripe down the center, and my story behind that guy, and also the story behind the guy with the skulls on his car. This is why I love miniatures games so much. Because you put so much time into these hobbies. You don't have to. Like I said, you could just get Hot Wheels and just play with them that way. Or you can buy a miniatures game that's already done. Like there's already miniatures assembled. You don't even have to bother to paint them if you don't want. But those of us who really like the hobby aspect of it and get into it for those reasons, these things become more personal to us. Our games become so personal because we've spent hours and hours on painting this army. Each one of the dudes has their own gun and their own style to them. And maybe you're putting extra, transfers on them, transfers, little logos and things all over their body. And you have like a personal connection with these little army men that you're playing with. And the same with these cars that I've been making. Each one of those cars, I have a story in my mind of why that guy took that car that he wanted and built it the way he did, and how he treats it and how he goes into battle. They become characters in my world, in my Gaslands world. These guys have become characters. So they're personal to me. So as a matter of fact, when I go into a game, I sort of bring that baggage along with me. I'm going to go in and I'm going to take this guy, and the guy with the car that he loves the car, he's like almost like too scared to get the thing destroyed, right? Like he loves his car more than he loves winning the race in some respects. The guy with the skulls on the front, he's just out to kill. He don't almost care about winning the race. He's about killing other people. And the guy with the big panel truck with the armor on the side, he thinks he's invincible. So he just drives wildly. Sometimes that's stupid in a game. You want to play smartly to win the game. But in my mind, there's drivers in these cars doing these things. And it's the same with most of these miniature games. When you get into it as deeply, you spend all the time to paint them, you spend all the time to model them, you base them, and you're taking good care of them. They become part of your gaming family in a sense. Miniatures games are fantastic. And if you get into it to that level, not only do you have a fun game to play, but you also have a hobby you can do by yourself. It's very, very rewarding. And let me tell you, if you ever thought about getting into miniatures games, this one is the easiest to get into. Even just to try to see if you like the game. So easy to get to. You got dice lying around. You got a printer on your computer. You got $13 to spend on this thing. And you got a bunch of Matchbox cars lying around your basement that your wife was about to throw out. Check this out. This is a fun game. This is cool. Gaslands. Check it out. I highly recommend it. You won't be sorry. All right, guys. Well, thanks so much for joining me for my little love fest with Gaslands. I've just been having so much fun with this game, and I hope you check it out. It's great. If you're interested in board games, card games, miniatures games, role-playing games, you can check out our audio show, The Secret Cabal Gaming Podcast and Lords of the Dungeon. You can find them at thesecretcabal.com or on iTunes. And do me a huge favor, you can subscribe to the YouTube channel. Click the bell too. For some reason, YouTube wants you to do that. That'll alert you anytime we put up some new videos. And until next time, have a good one, everybody.